That is awesome. I love that intro, man. Good job, Kat. Thanks so much. All right, everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday night principal conference video call, whatever we call them. I can't even remember, but glad to have you with us, and hope you're had a kick-ass weekend and already having a great week, and that your practices are exploding, your lives are exploding in good ways, and that all things are going positive for you. We hope that. And we'll send some love out to Matt Albert. Still struggling a bit, but he'll come around, man. So just know we love you. We're with you, buddy. And this week we have some announcements. We'll just do what do we got? July 4th, 4th of July, Saturday at 7 p.m. Dr. Sid live on Saturday Night Live. It might be completely video of him, might be just a little audio mixed in, but mostly video of Dr. Sid. And then the next major thing is we'll probably do a Saturday Night Live at the beginning of August, but then we've got DE August 13th weekend, and Paulette made some new graphics for us. Look at that, absolutely gorgeous. And oh right, thank you. My wife just reminded me of something. And so August 13th to 16th, make sure you are there. That's when we're getting back together. All this stuff better be lifted so that we can make sure we get together. Before I forget. All love and prayers for Beth Umber, who had a fall last night and had to have surgery. I have not heard yet what's going on, but just everybody keeping your thoughts and prayers, and Dr. Umber as well. And then the last announcement is our GCC golf tournament, October 8th on Thursday. I would love Chiro Cup. Third annual right there. I would love for a bunch of people to come down and play with us. We'll probably have. Last year we had about 100 golfers. We have room for 144. But what a blast we had, man! You come in the morning and you get free cigars, free Bloody Marys, Tito's drinks all day, beer, free beer. Everything's just lunch, breakfast, and lunch afterwards. Food out on the car. It's just incredible. We have a blast, man, and it's so much fun. Last year, Eddie Martinez and Brian Moriarty and Chris Rinney came to play with me and with us, and it was fantastic. We had such a great time. So if you can, come on out, man. We'd love to have you. It's on a Thursday. This week, we have Casey Berry, man, from Kansas City. And I don't want to steal much of his thunder because a lot of great stuff's going on in his life. I know he's at his office right now. His fresh new fiance, newly became fiance, is there with him. So congratulations to him. Congratulations on the success and growth of his practice. I know he attributes a lot of it to DE and what he did, but I'm sure we'll get into that. He'll get into that. So with no further ado, and next week, Johnny Balsamo, just to give you a heads up. But Casey, we love you, man. Thank you so much for doing this, and I'm going to mute out and take it away.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to the DE Talk on Tuesday night, and I'm honored to be here, and I thank all of you that are here listening tonight. Those videos and those pictures that we're scrolling through right there, I sent them to Katrine yesterday, and I didn't realize how much they meant to me until I just saw them. The pictures of me with the Beckshire and Henderson and Harding and a Beckshire and Judson. All of those guys have been a pivotal part of my life over the last 2.5 years. But not just them. There's been so many more. Tommy D'Amico, he's been there. Brian. This is one of those groups that once you give yourself to it and give yourself to change and to try to become what we're meant to be and what we're destined to be by God, then, we can become something. And I got to stop rocking this chair. And those pictures, they just remind me of where I've started 2.5 years ago with DE and then what happened last week. Saw that picture of my family. My family used to just be my daughter and I for her whole life. It was just me. It was her. And now she's going to be a freshman in high school. And a few years ago, I was going to quit doing what I was doing because I didn't think I could take care of her the right way. I had fought in custody battles with her mom for years, pretty much since she was 1 year old. And it really took a toll, not just on myself, my personal life, but also my office. And it took pretty much everything away from me that I had worked for in my life to get to where I was. So tonight I'm going to talk about, building a practice through adversity. And it's a lot of people, my adversity isn't going to be your adversity, but whatever we're going through, it's going to cause adverse times in our lives. And one of the things that I remember came all the way back to when I was in high school, and I was playing baseball in high school, and I didn't really come for much. My family didn't have the best name. So me sitting here in front of this group, there's a lot of people that when I was growing up, if you'd have told them and showed them a video of me 30 years from now, that moment, and told them I'd be talking to a lot of different doctors, they would say no. They would say that couldn't happen from the family it comes with. And then, I spent my life pretty much defying the odds of where I'm supposed to be. And then with all of that, I grew confidence and everything through that. And, when I was in high school, I got a baseball scholarship, went through baseball, 4 years of college, got drafted, blew out my shoulder the same day. And so that brings a lot of adversity to you when you're thinking about what your life's going to be as a 22-year-old kid, when everyone else has it. All of your other friends are going to go have a real job, and my job is going to go be playing a game and getting paid to do it. I know Judson kind of has that story as well. But then when you have all that confidence, you can kind of find and work your way through some adversity. And because, the baseball thing's over, the shoulder blew it out, but what's next? I'll figure out what's next. And then what came next was something I wasn't prepared for because I didn't know anything about business. I didn't know what a subluxation was. I remember my first professor at chiropractic school asked what a subluxation was. He looked at me and I was like, I think I'm going to quit school. But then when I got out of school, I was about making money, patience being a dollar sign, and it had nothing to do with the person. And I did that for a long time. I did it for 2 years as an associate, and then I bought their fledgling practice. It's pretty much driven in the ground, the practice I'm sitting at now. I've moved it a couple times, and I finally found a smaller town on the south end of Kansas City, and it's more my speed of place to live or work. I live a little bit away from here on the Kansas side, but it's not too far. But you have to find yourself. And when I moved down here 2 years ago, it was 3 months post DE, 3 or 4 months post my DE. I went to DE in January of 18 for the first time because of Andy Harding. And I know Andy alluded to it a little bit the other day if you were on the thing Saturday. And a year before that DE, I was getting ready to go to trial to get custody of my daughter. And I had spent every dime I'd ever made on taking care and protecting my responsibility, my daughter. But also at the same time, I wasn't taking care of myself. I started leaning into God a little bit. I wasn't raised that way. I was a pretty hard-nosed kind of kid. It was more, you get in my face, I'm going to knock you down. There was no love ever involved with that. I didn't grow up with that very much. And that love wasn't there when I was trying to make it out of where I had grown up and trying to prove everybody wrong. It was prove them wrong, not do anything for myself. And even though the baseball was for myself, it wasn't really. It was just to get away from everybody and prove them that I wouldn't end up like they thought I would. And then in 17, I was done. I was tired of it. I was tired of people coming in and complaining of their neck. And it was neck pain day or it was low back day. And I've talked about this before, like a year ago when I did the talk, so I won't elaborate too much on it. But after a year, I talked to Harding that March. Some buddies of mine set me up with him. And when he talked to me, my head was spinning. And I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. And so I tried to learn it. But he just knew stuff, and I couldn't find it, so I had to ask him. And finally I got to the point I was tired of asking him, so I just went away. I went away for a while using what he had taught me, but then I went right back to that dark space in my life, and it gets really dark and really lonely when you're raising a kid by yourself and when you're fighting somebody by yourself that's done a lot of nasty shit to you. And her mom did a lot to her and it's a lot to me, and it was rough. And so I was done. I was going to go find something else to do. I knew I could build a house or I could work for somebody on a farm because I grew up on a farm, so it's not that hard. But ultimately, that's not why I went to college, and that's not why I was doing what I was doing. And I was telling my fiance today that things can get rough, things can seem bleak in your life, because we're kind of starting to look for a house. We went and looked at a couple today, and it's a new ball game for me. I've never owned a house. I'm 40 years old, and all the bad shit in my life that has never led me down to that road. But I spent all my money taking care of my responsibility, my daughter, and then now I'm building this practice through a lot of hard times, and that got me to DE. But DE also has changed my mindset with all the crazy, stupid stuff that's going on in the world today. COVID-19, wear a mask. I'm racist because I'm white, which is, I'm not. And, that's the thing I think that's frustrating is there's so many things that's like bombarding society these days, that there's so many things that are causing adversity that we forget who we are. Am I racist because I am this way? Or do I have white privilege? Or do I have this? Or do I think different as somebody else because of how much money they make? Or am I good enough? There's all these things that are bombarding us every day. But, I look in the mirror and I know for myself that it doesn't matter to me, and it never really has. Where somebody comes from or what they look like or I just don't care who they are in a way to judge them, because I got judged a lot as a kid. So I'm not going to judge somebody else for something else. So we all deal with our own adversity. But the one thing when I was in high school and I was having a rough time with baseball, I'd had an injury, and then my head kind of got bigger than my parents thought it should be when I had a good couple years leading into my junior year. And one of my coaches, I remember he handed me this piece of paper, and it said, adversity causes some people to break down and other people to and some to break records. And even when I was going through the bad times before Harding came along and DE came along, I thought of that, but I never could bring myself out of that funk. And then all of a sudden, after going to DE, all you hear, if you're on this call and you have not been there yet, or you've listened to some talks and you're like, man, how can I do any of this? Listen, I came from a rough background. I came from a background where if you mouthed off, it was it. I was going to ask you, and then I was going to hit you. And when I was a baseball player, I knew I was better than everybody else, and I had that attitude. And so you can change. You can reach down deep inside. You can look yourself in the mirror, and you can say, what can I do? The one main thing you could do during times when it's tough, or times where you don't think you can do something, or you don't think this is for you, is you can get out of your own way and realize that if you can love other people around you, people you don't know, people that are just going to pay you, or people that may have crossed you wrong, if you can love these people, then what's going to happen is it's going to come back 100-fold to you what you can do, because it's not just the money thing that they pay or the things now that you can go buy, but it's how you can go to sleep at night, you can wake up at night. And over the course of 2 years, I was averaging, when I went to D the first time, I was averaging about 40, 50 a week. And I was working 5.5 days a week. I was here at 7:30 in the morning, and I'd leave at 6:30 at night. And I was running a household by myself with a little girl that was growing up and doing all this changing. And I wasn't making any money, but I was making it enough just to survive every month. But I was also just digging myself a hole mentally and honestly in my soul, that I just started hating my job. I started hating people, and it just wasn't fun anymore. And it was work. I would rather have quit. The only thing in my life I would have quit was chiropractic. And I'm thankful I reached out to 3 of my friends who, I'm struggling. I'm trying to get them to come to DE, but they're being stubborn like I was, but they're a little bit more stubborn, I think, at this than I was. I was in a dark place, and I needed something to pull me out of it. And after DE, my first weekend there, I was telling Katrine, Peter Amblinger was the first talk, and I was like, "What acorn? What does an acorn and chiropractic have to do with anything?" And I shut up in my own head and I listened, and I had Harding next to me, and by the end of that first 45 minutes of DE, I knew I needed to get back to the office on Monday. It was Friday morning early in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's an hour earlier there than it is in Kansas City, and I needed to get home. I needed to do exactly what Peter Amblinger told me to do in 45 minutes. I didn't need to do what anybody else said because I hadn't heard them yet, but I really didn't care. I just needed to do what Peter Amblinger said and Andy Harding. That's all I needed. Well, of course, I was broke still. I managed to buy a plane ticket 2 weeks after I had to borrow money to buy my daughter Christmas. I had to borrow money from the guy that hooked me up with Harding so I could buy my daughter some Christmas presents. That was some bad shit, and I was at the bottom. I mean, you hit rock bottom, and you've been to the top. I've been to the top in one thing in my life. I knew how to play baseball. I've been playing since I was 5 years old. I didn't know how to be a chiropractor. It wasn't about being a business owner. It wasn't about knowing everything that was in a medical textbook or these textbooks that they hand you in chiropractic school. I didn't know how to be a chiropractor. And once I went to DE that first weekend, I still didn't know what I was doing, but I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew what my purpose was. And so from that point on, I took that adversity that I'd been having, and I put myself to work through it and prayed a lot. And I was up in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning saying prayers, trying to do this 49 breaths by myself. And I was doing everything. I mean, I was trying to do everything I was being told by Andy, by Dana Bechter, because I met Dana Bechter that first weekend, and this guy, I thought he was the Godfather. I was like, damn, that guy in the movie or whatever. And then we went to lunch. I went to lunch by myself, and a bunch of them show up, and Dan takes me under his wing. And from that moment, I put the people that I was supposed to have in my life in the right place, and I was getting the right people around me and getting rid of some other people. And I didn't feel like I was alone anymore. I had Andy to talk to, but Dan would text me before I'd wake up in the morning. So if he's texting me before I'm waking up, he's up before I am, and I was average up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And so Dan took me under his wing and helped out. And over the course of 2 years, talking to him, talking to Andy, finding myself, I have managed to make my practice something that I can be proud of, something that I think a lot of newer docs, younger docs, and maybe some docs that have been out there and practiced a lot longer than I have, because I'm in my 14th year of practice. But when I think about it, I'm only in 2.5 years of practice, because it was like the first 10 years, 10 and a half, 11 years were just practice for me to suck and be terrible, and to be lucky enough to take care of a few people and survive at doing this while I was completely doing it wrong. I was taking insurance, I was taking PI, and I'm not telling anyone to get rid of PI cases and insurance. I know that didn't work for me. And so right before my first DE, I went all cash, and I was like, well, let's see if I can make it. The people I bought my practice from said I would fail in 6 months. And then last year, I finally bit the bullet in May and did what Dan had been after me for since I met him. I bought an x-ray machine, and I started talking to people. I started talking to people like I always heard these speakers at these other conferences, the speakers at DE talk. And I'm like, how do they talk to people like this? How do you tell somebody you need this? This is the care you need, and this is why. But I used to base it on pain. Now I don't base it on pain. I base it on what I see that the person needs. And it's all from above, down, inside out. So remove that interference and let the body take care of itself. Well, it's no different than going through adversity. You've got to let things go. You've got to find a way. I believe in God, and I've worked myself through it and taught myself that. And I have a pastor I know, and then he comes into the office, and I talk to him, and I go to church on occasion. We haven't gone a while because we can't get into the building. But um, I was listening to Andy, and he always said, "Let go and let God." And then one time, it was about 3 months into the whole thing with him after DE was, you can't hate. I mean, he told me, he's like, Casey, until you can get rid of the hate, you can't love. And that if you can't love, you can't grow. And at that moment, I finally realized who I needed to let go of and who I needed to forgive. And that was my daughter's mom for all the evil, horrible things that she'd done. And just realize that that was her. And it didn't need to be my problem. All those problems were actually her problems. And during this time, I built myself up to the point where I can feel good about myself, but I can look at my patients and not as a dollar sign anymore. And I can bring them in and they feel like a part of the family on the first day. Whether they know me or not, they've been referred to me or not, it doesn't matter. They walk in my door, they know right then that, wow, this guy's different. He's not talking over my head. He's not treating me like crap. He's actually talking to me like he actually cares about me. And with that, I've never done marketing. I think I did one when I first bought the practice, and I wasted a ton of money. But I've always thought it was pretty cool that I don't have to do marketing, and I've grown the practice. And I know there's a lot of docs on here that I look up to, that when I think of their numbers, I don't think I'm very far ahead. But then I have to remember I'm only 2.5 years into doing the real chiropractic from what I used to do. And 2 weeks ago, I saw 227. I've changed my hours. I've tweaked it so I can spend some more time with my daughter. And I've changed my whole outlook. God first, family second, chiropractic third. And I wasn't getting those things in order. And I did that. And back in February, I went to 3.5 days. I just took, I'm tired of doing it, and let's see what happens. And because it wasn't busy 2 days, I wasn't seeing hardly anyone on 2 days. So I just took Tuesday and Thursday out of the equation. And my practice has blown up when I've been here, but it wasn't because I took 2 days out. It was because my mindset was different. It was like, I can do this. I can do in 3.5 days better than what I was doing in 6. And I can spend time with my family. And now that I've got a bigger family, I get to do all of this stuff with my family. And, 2 weeks ago, I saw 227 and in 3.5 days. I was so excited. The week before, I saw 88 people on Friday, and she was my girlfriend at the time. I took her out to dinner, and I was so excited. I think she was tired of me talking because I was so excited. Couldn't shut up. But it wasn't about the money even. It was about how many people I could help in a 7-hour period. And whether it's 20 or 88 or 188, it doesn't matter. You got to do it one at a time anyways. And if you can't take care of that first one that walks in the door, you can't take care of the 88th person that walks in the door the same way. And if you're not focused the same at 6 o'clock when the doors are supposed to be closed that you did at 9 o'clock, then you need to reevaluate. You need to see what's going on. And I owe everything that's in my life right now to Andy Harding for not giving up on me, for Dana Baxter for taking a chance on me, for Steve Judson answering random phone calls, or Lieberman, or Moriarty, or all of those guys, Tommy D'Amico. It's a DE because without God, I remember the day that I sent Andy the message on Facebook. It was the Wednesday after Christmas of 17, and I said, I need help. I don't know what to do. The message that came back was one of those ones that it was like God was slapping you in the face and, hey, you asked for help. You got to get off the pot or don't. It doesn't matter. But I went to Andy's office, and ever since then, my life has changed. And then, so with all of that working for me, and everything going pretty good, and everything's really good lately. But the one thing that, a lot of us are stressed out about, I was pissed off more than I've been pissed off in a long time. I was frustrated, just mad as hell yesterday. We got this stupid mandate in Kansas City about masks. I got patients pissed off because I told them, I was honest, like, I'm reluctant to wear one, but I will for you. And so one lady's blowing me up on Facebook because of all the mask stuff, but it doesn't matter. I don't care. If I have to wear the mask and make sure I get to adjust somebody, if I'd have said that yesterday morning, I wouldn't have believed it. But after thinking about it today and I asked Andy the other day, and he sends me a video. He doesn't really call me. I was hoping he'd call, but he sent me the video. He sent his patients. We're all going through some adverse times right now. COVID-19, it nailed the whole country. Hell, it nailed the whole world. And I know what we all believe, how the body works and how bacteria and all, whatever. We all know. And it is scary when you have that moment where you're climbing out of the gutter, and then all of a sudden it's like, what's this going to bring? Am I going to go back down? I've got these plans for my family. You got to have your goals, but also you got to have your drive and what your purpose is. And my purpose is to wake up every morning and come and change somebody's life. The adjustment's huge. Removing that subluxation's huge. But when you can have somebody walk in your door and smile when they're not smiling when they walk in, and they're like bright as the sunshine is when they leave, that's when you're doing the things right to take care of the people around you and the people within your little realm that you take care of, not just the people in your office, but your family. And my daughter and I have gone through a lot. I didn't get to come to DE in January. That was another adverse thing. I had to send her to a psych place. There was a lot of bad decisions she was making based on her mom, and stress was a bitch taking care of her. And but then after that, COVID hits, and then all of a sudden this other stuff hits, and now we're back to COVID-19, whatever. But the one thing that I remember a few weeks before COVID hit, I went up to Andy's office and I got adjusted. I think that was why I went up there. I don't know if I went up there to get adjusted or just to talk to him, or I was up that way. I can't remember. And I told him for the first time, I finally realized what I needed to do. And I needed to take care of all of these people. And I finally knew what my purpose was. And when everything hit and they were starting to close things down, and it was a question: were we going to be open in Missouri? We're going to be open in Kansas City. What were going to be the stipulations? And it was somebody going to walk in because I didn't have a mask or gloves on, and I was letting people in my door the way I was. It came to determination that weekend when I found out that I wasn't going to let this bring me down, and I was going to educate my patients better and bring more people in the door. So I started sending out emails 3 times a week. And I started educating people through the emails, and then I started educating people when they came in the office and reminding them, listen, I've been telling you this for 10 years now since you've been coming in. This is what your body can do. And over that time, I was averaging about 140 a week, and then all of a sudden it's just ramped up. And it's still, I keep track of the numbers because, I was in such a bad place, and I was always trying to keep track of everything. But now it's not about keep track of the numbers to make myself feel better. It's like, how many people did I help this week? And it doesn't matter how many you're seeing right now. It's not how many you see when you get to the office tomorrow. It's what you do when you see each and every one of those people. We have a doc in Kansas City in our band of brothers. He's been here. We're trying to see if he can get to DE in August. But I told him a few weeks ago when I talked to him, and he reached out to me after the 49 breaths one morning, and I told him, every time I adjust somebody, I feel like I'm staring Jesus in the face, and when I adjust them, I'm removing that interference from Jesus. Well, we all know that we reconnect man the physical with man the spiritual. And so by me thinking that, I'm changing that person and allowing that person, because you know what? God's watching. Whether he's sitting over in the corner, he's standing right beside you with his hands on your hands, or he's laying within that person that's on your table. He's laying there waiting to see how you take care of them. And if you can get out of your way, if you can put that person and their life first and quit worrying about what's going into your bank account at the end of the day, or the number of people that you see at the end of the day. And it's hard. I mean, the numbers things is hard because, I still struggle with it because I want to be a 400, 500,000 a week. I want to pretty much, if we just divide this Kansas City metro into like maybe 6, then there's 6 people I talk to regularly that are in the city. You could just have them. Like, we just all take a sixth of it and would be good. I'd be happy. Because I think everybody needs to be on it. But getting through the adverse times is you got to really dig deep. You got to find, whether it's you believe in God, you believe whatever you believe in, you got to dig deep in there. You got to dig deep in whatever faith you have, and realize that you can get through it. The people you put around you are going to help you get it through it, because you can't do it by yourself. I think I'm not sitting here on this call because I did any of this by myself. And honestly, I don't know how much of it I've done other than just give in and let God take over and let God lead the path. Because when you raise a little girl by yourself, it can be a lonely place. You know, I lost a lot of friends during that because I put my daughter first. I don't really care. And I don't think anyone on this call would think that I should care, or they wouldn't care either because it's their kid. But it got lonely. You know, it was lonely going home and hanging out with her, and you do the same thing, same routine. She played softball, so that was kind of an out because I was down my path. But when I came here to DE, and this is for everybody that's kind of wondering if this is a place for you to be, just remember, I came into this thing full of hate, full of despair, full of just doubt, and full of everything. And last year, things started to turn around. And I guess it was the end of 2018. Things started to turn around. And I just, with all the love I kept putting in my heart and kept reminding myself and trying to love myself and love other people, one of the biggest things, I've had a lot of good things in my life happen. You know, getting drafted, that was a goal. That was one of the biggest things that ever happened to me when I was a 22-year-old kid. Having my daughter, I didn't know I had one until she was 2 weeks old, but I take care of her. Every day was a challenge, but every day was fulfilling. But then I had this practice, and I couldn't get past a lot of stuff. And then once I met Harding, and then I came to DE, and I met a Beckster, and those guys just got a hold of me, and they loved on me, and they helped me remove the husk. It wasn't me doing it by myself. It was they did it too. And they kept reminding me. And Andy still reminds me. And, I'm talking to Chris Harris. He's in our Band of Brothers. He's the one we're trying to get to come to DE. You got to remove this stuff and get it out of there. Well, as I've been removing it, last Tuesday night, we were in Florida on a family vacation. And when we went down there last Monday, I had a girlfriend, and I had 2 girls that I was hoping would end up being my stepdaughters one day. I was hoping they'd be the next day. And they knew, my daughter knew, and I was going to give my daughter a family and a woman that could care for her. And if I hadn't been to DE, there's no way I would have found Bethany. And there's definitely no way that I would have proposed last week, because I wouldn't even have gotten that chance. I'd have still been in that dark, ugly, lonely place in a fledgling practice. I might not even been in practice right now. So DE isn't, I know a lot of you know this, but some of you are new. DE isn't just a part-time job. I think this is a Bechter that said this at his first thing. It's not a part-time thing. It's not in the office only thing. It's every minute of every day. It's your life. DE, when you become a DE principled, lasting purpose chiropractor, you can look and let the success leave clues. I've got all this stuff written on the board. It was everything that I used and I still use. I would have never had the opportunity to propose to Bethany, have the opportunity to go start looking at houses, get married to the woman that honestly was beyond my dreams, and give my daughter a good mom, and then have 2 girls that are already acknowledging that I'm their stepdad or they're my stepdaughter. And it's been the most amazing ride for 2.5 years, and I can't wait to see where it takes me. But I'm also excited to see where it takes other people. I don't feel like I'm such a a mentor type. But, I've been mentoring Chris a little bit, and then talking to Mary Phipps and Taylor Phipps and Tim Sullivan. And I've made some great friends that have become more of a family that are here in Kansas City. And D has brought me a bigger family. I get to talk to most of them every morning at 6 o'clock, and then and hear voices and get help. And I just can't be. That's how you grow a practice. You got to get out of your way. You got to get out of your way. You got to allow for the higher power to take over and lead you down the path. And you have to just love your way through everything. Just like Andy always says, love, love, love. Your technique isn't diversified. It's not upper cervical. It's not whatever else you use. It is love. If you can find an in you and love yourself, figure out how to love yourself, that's how you grow a practice through adversity. You stop worrying about what's on the damn news. You stop worrying about what's on Facebook, or who cares. It's all crap anyways. Whether it's true or not, it's all spun around to bullshit anyway, so who cares? Be true to yourself. Be true to God. Put your priorities in line, and when you do that, you will see things happen in your life that you never even thought could happen. If you'd have told me, if Andy would have told me 2 years ago I'd have been on this call, doing this call, and seeing the number of people I was weak, I'd have been like, yeah, you're crazy. Because it doesn't seem real when you're in such a bad, shitty situation in your life you can't get away from. And with where we're all going through right now, in whatever state, whatever town you're in, when you go to work tomorrow, say a prayer, thank God, tell him you're thankful for all the people he's going to send in that day, and tell him you're going to take care of them to the best of your ability. And all you have to do is get them on the table, love them, find that supplication, reach down and adjust them, and then step away. Let God do the rest. Let God take care of it. And you know what's going to happen is if we're taking care of those people based on God, and we're taking care of God's people, God's going to take care of us. It might not be at the speed that you want, or you might not be getting to the goals you want right away. But I'll tell you what, I was going to ask Bethany 9 months ago to marry me, but I had to pay this ring off. And there was a lot of things that hit in and out of there. And I was just frustrated. Well, I was going to pay this off this month and get it taken care of. But I was going to do it by her house around the lake with a few people around. And God had his timing, and his timing was last week. Instead of going to Florida to Sarasota DE, we got to go to Florida last week. As much as I miss Sarasota and DE and seeing everybody at DE, it was a blessing that I didn't get to go. And we got to go last week down to see her family, and it was pretty awesome. There was 15 of us. 14 people knew it was going to happen. And then there was 3 other people FaceTime that I'd set up to make sure that she had the most amazing night of her life. And it's all because of DE. And I don't know. I hope that helps somebody. I don't know. I don't really have much else to say. I don't want to keep speaking in circles, but I just pray for everybody. And if you guys ever need anything, reach out. I'll do my best to help. But I know you don't have to reach out to me. There's a whole family of DE chiropractors out there that you can reach out to, you can learn from. And you know what? You're going to get told this if you're a DE, that we don't want anything from you. We don't. Like, I didn't know that. I didn't believe that. But by God, that's the truth. And if you need help, we're here. If you're struggling, we're here. Even if you've been in practice for a long time, you can always reach out to somebody. So don't ever hesitate to reach into this family for help, because this family will help, because I know we all care about each other, and we care about what we're doing in our practices, because we're going to change the world one adjustment at a time. So I want to thank everybody for having me tonight, and I'll talk to you soon, and I'll see you at DE in August.
Casey, what a great freaking job, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
That's a humble servant right there, man. That really is a humble servant, man. I love your humility and the growth that you've gone through, and I think you still are going to have some really good hush that shed, especially with your daughter and all that's going on. But I'm looking forward to being around to see it, man. So congratulations.
Thank
It's
you.
awesome to see.
Appreciate you. Love
Seriously,
you,
man.
man.
Love you too, buddy. And everybody, I hope you guys have a kick-ass week. We got Johnny Balsamo on next week. Thanks again to Casey Berry and Kat for doing this, and we love you, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you guys. Love you.
Peace out.
Peace out. Maybe.